Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for the math portion of the GRE. We have been solving math problems out of this book here, the official guide to the GRE, the revised general test. If you do not own this book, already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it in order to be able to follow my work. The problem that I'm about to solve is the one that you're going to find on page number 150. Page 150, and today is our lesson number 38. The second problem on the page, on the bottom of the page. Turn to page 150 and make sure that you have that in front of you and that you have read the problem. So here's what it is. Here we are given some numbers, and in the second row we are given the frequencies, how often they occur. For example, we are told 1, 2, 3, and then 5. Notice that 4 is missing. There is no 4. 1, 2, 3, and 5. I shouldn't have used this much room because I need to be able to put the other one next to it. Number and frequency. 1, 2, 3, and 5. We are told that 1 appears 10 times, 2 appears 20 times, 3 appears 18 times, and 5 appears 12 times. And if you add them up, 10 plus 20 is 30, 12 plus 18 is 30, and 30 plus 30 is 60. So we have 60 numbers here. And then in the second group, we are told we have, this is page 150. 6, 7, 8, and 9. 6 we are told appears 24 times in the observations. 7 appears 17 times. 8 appears 10 times. And 9 appears 9 times. The question simply is, which quantity is bigger? The average of 120 numbers that we see here, or their median? What else we are told? We are told that the average of the numbers in the list x is 2.7. So the average of these numbers, average is, let's call it A1 for the first average, is 2.7. A1 being the average of the first group, and similarly A2, which is the average of the second group, we are told is 7.1. The question simply is, which quantity is bigger? The average of these 120 numbers? Average of these 120 numbers? Or their median? Which one is bigger? Which one is bigger? The median of the 120 numbers. So it's the average of these 120 numbers versus their median. Which quantity is bigger? Well, first thing first. We have, figuring out median here is very simple. Median is just the middle number after the numbers have been arranged in order. It is very important. Simply saying that the median is the middle number is not enough. It is very important that you qualify your statement after the numbers have been arranged in order. I just used the word here. I'm going to digress here very quickly. And if you do not understand how I use this word qualify in the context, I said it's very important that one qualifies one's statement. Simply saying that median is just the middle number is not enough. We must qualify a statement by adding the fact that it has to be after the numbers have been arranged in order. Look up this word qualify. I don't mean to say look up. What I want you to do is, just like you're watching these math videos with me to improve your math skill for the GRE, in the English portion of the GRE, the most important ingredient, in my opinion, is having decent vocabulary. And for that reason, I have put together some videos which will help you improve your vocabulary. I would like you to watch day number 27. Just type in this tag, Keshwani Prep, and then put in vocabulary instead of revised GRE math, obviously. Vocabulary, day 27. Learn this word properly. It has two meanings. First meaning of the word qualify. The first meaning of the word qualify is something that everybody knows, which means to have the appropriate I can't believe I'm to have the appropriate ability, to have the appropriate capacity to do something. That is not the meaning that I used the word, that is not the meaning that I employed just now. Watch the video and learn what does it mean to qualify a statement. But anyway, enough of the testing. That was a quick digression. So it's very important that we say that median is the middle number after the numbers have been arranged in order. Well, here they are already arranged. The numbers are already arranged. We are given 10 ones. 10 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way 10 ones. Then we are given 22s, 20 of them. Then we are given 18 threes, 18 of them, and so forth. They are already arranged in order. 1, 2, 3, they're all there. Question is, what is going to be the, and there are 60 numbers here, there are 60 here. Well, if there are 60 over here and 60 over there, 60 in the first group and 60 in the second group, then the median is right in the middle. Now, instead of talking about 60s, which makes it very difficult to see, let's do a simpler example where we'll talk about 6 numbers. Okay? Can you tell me what 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Forget about their frequency. Pretend that we have 1 1s, 1 2s, 1 3, and so forth. Can you tell me what's the median of these 8 numbers? We have 4 numbers here, 4 numbers there. Now, listen, I'm going to change this problem a little bit. Instead of a 5 is after 3, if we had a 4 and then a 5, the median of these 9 numbers would have been 5, because we have 4 numbers here, 4 there, 5 is the middle one. They've already been arranged in order. The middle number is 5. But here, 4 is missing, which means we have 8 numbers. When you have even number of numbers, listen carefully, when you have even numbers of numbers, the median is the average of the middle two numbers. Average of the middle two numbers. When we have even numbers of numbers, the median is the average of the middle two numbers. So here we have 30 numbers, here we have 30 numbers. For example, in this case, here we have 4 numbers, here we have 4 numbers. The middle is right here, which is 5.5. Something that falls exactly in the middle is the average of 5 and a 6. Average of 5 and a 6 is 5.5, because 5 plus 6 is 11 divided by 2 is 5.5. The same exact thing applies here. Exact same logic applies here. It doesn't matter how many of these we are. There are 30 numbers on the left hand side. There are 30 numbers on the right hand side. Therefore, the median of these 100, sorry, not 30. Did I say 30? I meant to say 60. There are 60 numbers on the left hand side in this group. There are 60 numbers on the right hand side on this group. There are altogether 120 numbers. But because they are already arranged in order, the median is the number that falls right in the middle, which is 5.5. That was the easy part. So their median is 5.5. That was the easy part. Figuring out the average of these 120 numbers requires some thinking. Now, because I need the room, I'm going to erase everything. We're done with the median part, that's it. I'm going to read it one more time very quickly, and I'm going to erase everything. It says median is just the middle number after the numbers have been arranged in order. Numbers already arranged in order here, There are 8 numbers here, 1, 2, 3, 5. There are 4 here, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 4 over there. Therefore, the median is something that falls right in the middle of 5 and a 6. Something that falls right in the middle of 5 and a 6 is 5.5. The exact same thing applies here. There are 60 numbers on this side, 60 on that side. So when we have even numbers of numbers like we have here, it's even number of numbers because we have 120 numbers. When we have even numbers, or even numbers, not numbers, even number. When we have even number of numbers, the median is the average of the middle two numbers right here. That's it, we're done with it. Let's talk about the average. How do we find out the average of numbers? Let's first talk about this average here. Let's talk about how do you suppose they came up with this number? Now, because we are doing it for learning purposes, and this is not a real exam, we are just doing it for learning purposes so that we can master the concepts. What I want you to do is pick up your calculator and do it out what I'm about to do, which is how do you find the average of group numbers? There are a group of 30 numbers here, and if somebody asks me how do we find to find the average, I will simply do I have 10 ones, we have 20 twos, we have 18 threes, and we have 12 5. This is the sum of these numbers. Let's call it S1. S1 for the sum of these numbers. If you were to write it up, 1 1 1 1 1 10 of them, and then 2 2 2 2 2 2 2 20 of them, and then 3 3 3 3 3 18 of them, and then 5 5 5 5 5 5 12 of them. And if you were to add them all up, this is how you would do it. Instead of doing it out individually, you would do 10 times 1, 20 times 2, 18 times 3, and 12 times 5. That's their sum. Let's call it S1. How do we find the average of numbers? Well, we take the sum, the average of any group of number is simply their sum, S-U-M, sum, divided by the number of numbers. Well, their sum is what we're calling S1. And the number that we have here, is 60. There are 60 of them. And this sum divided by 60 is what we're calling the A1, which is the average. And do it out. If you don't believe me, do it out. 10 plus 40 plus 18 times 3 is 54. 54 plus 60, right here. I'm going to do it in a different color so you can see it. 10 times 1 is 10, 20 times 2 is 40, 18 times 3, I don't know how the hell, what the hell 18 times 3 is, but I do know that 20 times 3 is 60, therefore since 18 is 2 less than 20, it must be 60 minus 6, which is 54, plus 12 times 5, again, I do not know what 12 times 5 is, but I do know that 12 times 10 is 120, and half of 120 is 60. So if you were to add up all of these numbers, 50, whatever that is, 10 plus 40 plus 54, 10 plus 40 plus 54 plus 60, if you were to add them all up and divide by 60, what you will find is that this sum, this is the sum which is what we're calling S1, divided by 60, comes out to be the average that they're giving us, 2.7. So 2.7 equals the sum divided by the 60. This average is 2.1 divided by 60. And what do we find from this equation? Okay, keep listening. What do we find from this equation? Which means this sum must equal the average times the number of numbers. This implies that this sum must equal average times the number of numbers, which makes perfect sense. Because if you have 3 numbers, 3, 4, 5, what is their sum? It's 12. Here the average of these 3 numbers is 4. So their sum sum, which is 12, must equal the average, which in this case is 4, times how many there are? There are 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. There are 3 numbers. 1, 2, 3. That's what we're going to do here. I need to erase this thing. I need the room. Perhaps I'm explaining it in too much excruciating details. I cannot tell when to quit. So the overall, so here S1 equals A1 times 60. Similarly, the S2, the second sum, will equal the second average times the 60. I'm not going to spend the time to explain that part. Why are we figuring it out? Because we are going someplace with it, okay? We're going someplace with it. Again, I need the room, so I'm going to erase everything. S1 represents the sum of the first group. S2 represents sum of the second group. Now, the overall average, which is what we need here. By overall average, I mean the average of the 120 numbers. The overall average must equal the sum of the first group plus the sum of the second group divided by the number of numbers, which is 60 plus 60. We have 60 in the first group, 60 in the second group. So sum of these numbers plus the sum of that numbers, that is the sum of 120 numbers here, S1 plus S2, divided by 60 plus 60, which is how many we have here. But we already know, I'm going to continue this part here, right here, S1 equals this part right here, A1 times 60. So I'm going to continue here. S1 equals A1 times 60. A1 times 60. S2 equals A2 times 60 over 60 plus 60. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. So here, in this quantity here, we have 60 times A1. In this quantity we have 60 times A2. Again, I'm going to show you here something so you can understand what I'm about to do. If I have 60 times P and 60 times Q, that can be written as 60 times P plus Q. We can take out the 60 common, because this is 60 times P and this is 60 times Q, which is what we're going to do here. Take out the 60 common and we end up with A first average and the second average. This is the sum of the two averages over 60 plus 60, which is simply 2 times 60. Okay, keep watching what happens. Now here we have 60 on the top. Here we have 60 on the top, right here, and we have 60 on the bottom. They cancel out. And what are we left with? We are simply left with first average plus the second average divided by 2. Well, what do we get when we add up two quantities? If we have one quantity and another quantity, if we add them all up and divide by 2, what do we end up with? We end up with their average. So it turns out that the overall average equals the overall average right here, we just showed here, equals the average of the two averages. The overall average equals to the average of the two averages. That's it, we're done. Again, let's continue here. This part was already done. We already know median is 5.5. The average of 120 number is simply the average of the two averages. The first average is 2.7. Second average is 7.1 over 2. What do we do next? Well, we find their average. 2.7 plus 7.1, listen carefully. This is less than 3, this is a little bit more than 7. 7 plus 2.7, well actually I'm making too much fuss about it. It turns out to be 2 plus 7 is 9, so it's 9.8 over 2. 9.8 over 2, whatever the hell it is less than 5. How do we write less than 5? How do we write less than 5? This is how we write less than 5. 5 with the minus sign in front of it. So the average of the 120 numbers turns out to be something less than 5. We're comparing this something less than 5 to 5.5, and therefore the answer is B. Voilà. That's it. The answer is B. Now I could have very easily skipped all this explanation in between that I did here for the last 10 minutes and simply could have told you that the average of, or the overall average of 120 numbers is simply the average of these two averages. Anybody could have done that, but then you might wonder, why is that? I wanted to satisfy your curiosity. I showed you the proof here. Right here is the proof that the average of the two groups, the overall average of the two groups combined, in other words, the overall average of all the 120 number is simply the average of the two averages. You add up the two averages and you divide by 2. That's all. That's it. Tomorrow, on day number 39, we'll do the problem that you see on page number 151, and we'll just keep chugging along. That's all. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.